you brought up that playoff game versus the Raiders. You know, this is your second year in the league. You make the Pro Bowl that year. You've mentioned that the lights kind of came on for you in regards to understanding how to play the position. You blow out the Raiders earlier in the year. I think you guys were the only team to beat the Raiders that year. Then you go to Oakland, play them in the playoffs. You guys had to have felt pretty confident going in there after what you did to them before. Any memories from that playoff game? And obviously the controversial call.
Oh, just a couple. We went there, and from the first play, it was a game where I knew something was off, something was going on. And I'm not going to use any of the the words that would accuse anybody of anything. But and Al Davis has since left the planet, and I enjoyed meeting him when he'd come to Hawaii for the owners' meetings. What a character he was, and a smart man, and a real tribute to the league. He fought like cats and dogs with the league office and Pete Rozelle, the commissioner. But you just couldn't. And John Madden as the head coach, there weren't too many people who were more dedicated to getting better also in the league than that team. But something was off with the officiating, as far as I could tell. And Art McNally was head of officiating at the time, and got to know him through my career, and he's doing his best job. So we beat him 48-17, and we're beating him towards the end of the game. But before that happened, before the half, I'm running a play across the middle. Darryl Stingley's running a deep route, and the ball comes to me, and one of the defensive backs, will go nameless for right now, George Atkinson, threw his elbow in between my mask. I wore that wider mask for receivers, and put my nose on my cheek. And I came off the sidelines and was bleeding, and Steve Zabel, our outside linebacker, tough guy, the original, truly out of University of Oklahoma with Chuck Fairbanks, he was the original and the first up on billboards Marlboro man. He looked the part, big bushy mustache, cowboy type guy. He said, "Get your butt back in the," he said, "You're not hurt." And I took my hand off, and he looked at my nose, and blood was running down my throat and my chest. And he said, "Doc," he started screaming for the doctor. Well, they taped the nose and plugged it and then put me back in. And it wasn't very long when halftime came, and Ray Perkins came to me. And he goes, "You going to be able to play in the second half or not?" And it was kind of odd, because he's the guy that always said, listen to your body. My body was screaming at me. So I played the second half, caught a touchdown. I'll just save all the drama. But at the very end of the game, they called Ray Sugar Bear Hamilton on one of our defensive ends for roughing the pass with Kenny Stabler when they were coming down to the red zone. And it was clear that it was not roughing the passer, and there was 2 or 3 or 4 other really key penalties that were called that favored the Raiders and allowed them to score a couple touchdowns and beat us. And that year, in the owners' meetings, in league history, and one of them was they put a backfield judge that watched just the tight end. And because I was getting held, and of course there was no call for that elbow to the face, and the ball wasn't even coming to me. I wasn't even part of the play. So there were a lot of things that were questionable about that game. Oh, I also learned through all the years, you take the good with the bad. The Raiders had a really good team. I mean, there's just nothing. So take that game out of it. They had a heck of a season, aside from losing to us, which happens to anybody. It's a long trip. They travel from West Coast to East Coast and back. And I had a lot of friends on that team, a lot of guys that I really admired. I admired their head coach when Darryl got hurt, Darryl Stingley. John Madden, the head coach of the Raiders, was in his hospital room every day. So if he needed anything, the coach did it. And then a couple of players would go in and see him from time to time. And then you've got the players, like David Casper, the tight end, who was a great example of how to play the game as well. I looked at film with John Mackey and Mike Ditka and Jackie Smith, because that's who Ray Perkins, that was his era, and those are 3 of the best that I've ever seen. but Dave Casper was certainly in the same category. So I made a lot of friends. Went to Kenny Stabler's golf tournament down in Alabama for out of a couple of years when invited, and it was that East Bay West Bay rivalry. AFC NFC. Right across the bay. So all of those are great memories, Brad, and I couldn't pick out any one thing that stands out other than all of them.